I'm your host, Marshall Florence, for Just Ask Podcast Live. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us today. Now, first, I want to tell you we're having some technical difficulties due to the storm. So please bear with us when you see something going on with our intro and everything. We will do what we can to get all that corrected. But we are here live, so we do want you to know that in between the storm, we're still doing what we need to do, and that's to bring the good information to you. So today's show, I wanted to bring on a gentleman that, you know what, it's a lot going on in the senior world. So this gentleman today will give us some insight on some senior services, long-term care, financial planning, information that sometime as a senior you might need to know, or as a person who's caring for a loved one that needs to know about what to do for their loved one in transition of housing, financial situations. It could be anything, but I shouldn't say anything, but it's services that we don't think about until we feel as though we need them or someone in our family needs them. So without further ado, I wanted to introduce my guest for today, Mr. Dan Tripp. He is the Eagle Financial Solution. He's with the Eagle Financial Solution Group, and there he is. Good afternoon, Dan Tripp.
Good afternoon, Marcia. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you so much. Now, Dan, forgive me. I told our viewers that we are live and we are experiencing a few difficulties here, technical difficulties. So I hope you can hear me fine.
I can hear you fine.
Well, good. So, Dan, I want to start off with tell us a little bit about yourself. And we know you have a twofold position here. One is the Point Professionals leadership program, and I want to find out about that, as well as what do you do for your Eagle Financial Solution Group. So tell us about yourself, Dan.
Okay, well, first of all, I've been in the insurance industry for 33 years. And for all through that time, I've been a specialist like in the long-term care arena. And it's only been since just before COVID where these things started to ramp up. And Point Professionals became a networking group that grew and grew during COVID. And we are comprised currently of about 210 local professionals, all of whom have the same goal in mind, which is to help older adults and their families make an easy transition through the aging process.
Okay.
Eagle Financial Solutions is the company that I represent when I'm out in the field talking insurance. And they're located up in Oxford, Michigan. And actually, I haven't been up to Oxford since before the pandemic, so I'm hoping that they're doing well up there, but they're getting money out of me, so I hope that works good.
Okay. Now, today's show topic, and I wanted to show this beautiful flyer here, is aging your way, your life, your choices. So I wanted you to fill us in on exactly what does that mean, Dan, when you say aging your way, your life, your choices.
Well, Marcia, Aging Your Way came out of a series of roundtable discussions that we were doing prior to COVID. And it's about choice. It's about the choices that we have. It's about the choices that we don't have. And it's about the choices that we do or do not take advantage of. And as we get older, these choices seem to fall away. The older you get, you leave some behind each time. And they're like peeling an artichoke. Once you peel the leaf off the artichoke, you can't put it back. And so what Aging Your Way is intended to do is to be proactive and help families make the choices today while they can, so that when the needs arise, there's not a knee-jerk reaction to doing what has to be done. They already have that in place.
So what is the best time for planning? I mean, most people don't think about it. So what is the best time for planning for this way?
Well, Marcia, the best time in my opinion is when you have the family together, when you can still get everybody together and have a conversation. This conversation is going to be a tough one because mom and dad at that time can outline what they see and what they want from a care perspective as they get older.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's not going to be a fun talk, but the younger everybody is, not I wouldn't get little kids involved necessarily, but adults in the conversation, so mom and dad can outline who will do what
Mm-hmm.
and where they want that what to happen.
Okay, because a lot of times, you know what, like you said, it's a difficult conversation to have, especially with young adults. But it's a conversation we must have, and people don't know exactly when to have that conversation. So, I'm concerned that some people feel like, well, I'm sick, I should talk about it now. I'm aging, I should talk about it now. But shouldn't it be a conversation on the table? Say, like, your children are over 21. Okay, they're over 21. They're old enough to make decisions. And so you want to put things in place so they can say, just in case.
And it can also raise questions that can be answered. You don't necessarily want to wait till you're in your 60s to have the discussion with your kids, because at that point, they've got their families in place and they're going to have to arrange all of that with them. I think that a young family, kids, adults, mom and dad in their 40s or 50s, is the perfect time to sit down around the dining room table and have that talk.
Okay, okay. Okay, now what about legal documents and things like that? Is there anything that you find that the person who is going through a transition should be prepared for, or what they should do? Because I'm going to say this. I do know for me in particular, I got my insurance policies when I was like in my 40s. So I had these policies and they were less expensive then than they would be now, which I'm not telling my age. But anyhow, they would be less expensive. So I'm trying to figure out, how do people know when they should get a policy that covers a decent amount? I mean, you can always increase it or whatever, but sometimes people say, well, I can't afford it right now, or the policy is too high. But it's much higher when you get 50, 60 than it is when you're 20, 30, and 40. It's really cheaper in your 20s, okay, and 30s, but it starts to creep up there. So is there certain policies that people really should try to plan for at a certain age?
The ideal age to me is right around 50. The difference between 40 and 50, as far as a premium goes, is very minimal. But once you hit 60, then you do see that cost go up from a premium perspective. The thing with buying it is price.
Mm-hmm.
Should be one of the greatest sayings I ever heard in this business is price is only an issue in the absence of value. So if there is value brought to the family, not just mom or dad buying the insurance, but the benefits of that plan and helping the kids relieve some stress, know that the care will be paid for by someone other than them, and that the care can also be provided, if necessary, by somebody other than them. So,
Okay.
if you're looking to save some money on an ongoing basis, early is better, because you'll never be younger than you are today, and your health is probably the best it'll ever be.
All right. All right. So what about the situation? Is aging in place at home cheaper option than residential?
Again, that goes to what certain questions. What will the care look like?
Mm.
Okay. If it's just a couple of days of having someone come and help mom or dad get out of bed or get bathed, that's a pretty inexpensive care package. And aging at home is probably the better thing. It also, keep in mind that when you're home, you're comfortable. You're in a comfort zone. You know where everything is.
Mm-hmm.
There's just that degree of confidence in knowing what you're doing. Moving to a residential community is a great idea if you're living alone,
Mm-hmm.
because of It helps with your socialization. You're not isolated. You know you're going to get good care. Uh, from a price perspective, if you were to look at 5 days a week of home care as opposed to 7 days a week in a residential home, you're going to find the price is very, very much the same. A monthly cost for in-home care can be upwards of $45,000 a year. And from a perspective of residential care, that's probably the base. That's probably the starting point. It can get up to around 60,000.
Now the only drawback I have about home care is the family. How strong is the family that will be, providing us the care for that loved one who is aging or who is sickly. So some people say, well, I want my kids to live their life. I don't want them to have to take care of me. So they find themselves leaning towards, long-term care facilities instead of staying home. Even though the home is paid for, you just have the basic utilities and taxes. It could be an oversized home that the senior is living in by themselves, or it could be a situation where they don't have extended family, any children or something, and they're still by themselves. So what would be the take on someone who's single and living in a, beautiful home, but they're aging?
If they're safe in that home, that helps with their decision making. But if that home has stairs, if it's got a second floor laundry, let's say, or a basement laundry, there's the floors aren't totally even. Maybe there's a little step down to a family room kind of a thing. Living alone, all it takes is one fall, and no one knows about it. And if you have children who are scattered, not close by, I would definitely recommend moving out of a family home, even though it's paid for, even though it's the biggest asset that they've ever had in their lives. There comes a time when safety should take over as the primary
Safety's first.
perspective.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, most definitely safety is first, because a lot of times what I feel is an issue with people is that you're trying to save something for your children. This home is our family home. I want to save it for my children. They can do what they want to do with it when I'm gone, but you're still here. And while you're here, you're trying to stay in that home, but yet that home may be causing some difficulties for you to maintain. You got stairs, you got the washer and dryer in the basement, you got a bathroom might be upstairs and you're downstairs. Too many rugs on the floor, slip and fall. And we don't think about these things when we're in our youth. We think about these things as we age, and specifically over the age of 55 is when some of these questions come about. Some of these issues start to creep up. So it's no end to this because it's ongoing. But we do like to have information to help people prepare or consider making changes in their their planning for their next 5 to 10 years, whatever it may be, if it's health related or if it's just time because I'm coming of age.
And, home modifications can be done. There can be things like walk-in showers put in, or toss out all the throw rugs, change your door handles from round where you have to twist them to levers in case there's an arthritis thing down the road. Just things to make the house more friendly. But at some point, even a friendly home might be too much for one person to maintain.
Right. A friendly home. That's you and the dog, and you trip over the dog. Right. That's a friendly home. So what's your take, Dan, on advanced directives? Because some people don't believe in that, and I don't think a lot of people know what advanced directives are.
Well, advanced directive is simply outlining your wishes if you can't make them. So you put them down on paper, and you specify that in the event that you are no longer able to make those decisions yourself, you've already made them prior to that date.
Mm-hmm.
And they're
Mm-hmm.
legal. They have to be, the courts have upheld no matter what. You might have two kids fighting over that, but they, to have a do not resuscitate type of directive where if you're going to be a burden to people, you're never going to leave the hospital kind of a situation. You don't want to be kept on a machine. And it allows also your assets that you have to be used in the proper way for the kids to be able to use them to perhaps for hospice, for maintaining the
Mm-hmm.
comfort level instead of trying to daily inject your mom or your dad with some new, drug or a new thing that comes down the pike that's supposed to work for dementia uh, patients, for instance. It's not. It gives a proxy to someone else to make the decision, and that's part of that family planning. That someone in that family is going to have to be able to agree that down the road you might have to unplug the machine.
So that advanced directive, is that only available in the hospital that the person is being treated by, or can advanced directive be at home? I mean, a form that you fill out and you keep it home in a safe place.
Oh no, it's a legal document. You should keep it in a safe place. Let your family know where that is. If it's in a
Mm-hmm.
safe or a safe deposit box or in the bottom of your file drawer. But let people know where that is so that when you are no longer able to make a decision for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
that they know where that is already.
Okay. Okay. So what is a DNR? Is that the
Do not,
directive?
it stands for do not resuscitate.
Okay.
So you have
All
a
right.
stroke in the hospital, or could have it at home as well, or a heart attack, or they can, if they use CPR in you, you might come back.
Mm-hmm.
The DNR says don't resuscitate me. Let
Wow.
me go.
Okay. All right. All right. And then, and that's good to know that you can have that form at home, so that when the children are arguing back and forth. No, she never told me that. No, that's what she said. No, she never told me that. So if the papers are in a file somewhere, the Bible or something, that gives the family a chance to know what that person's wishes are. And that's the same thing as far as burial. A lot of people say, well, some people want to be cremated, some people don't. So is that part of your programs too, that you guys talk
That is
about?
part that's a pretty important part because the funeral home is the first line of credit after death. And so that comes down to what kind of arrangements do you want? Do you want a big deal? Do you want a viewing? Do you want a party? Or do you just want to be cremated, let's say, and have your ashes, you know, divvied up or scattered or however that works?
Divvied up.
But by
Okay.
having it written,
Okay.
there's no, there's no place where the argument can be.
But
There's no
these are
gray
but
area
these
there.
things are only if you've taken the time out and write them out and compile them and put them somewhere, because on the average, like I know, the average family does not have this stuff written out. And I'll be honest, I'm in the process of writing mine because I don't feel like I want to have a disagreement amongst family members, but I feel as though for my decision of what type of service I want, do I want to be cremated or buried, I want them to be clear on that. Excuse me, I want them to be clear on that, on what my wishes are. Now, if it's something that can't be helped, do that because it can't be helped. But at least try to follow behind a person's wishes. But a lot of times, even if a family member says, I'd rather be buried, if they don't have a policy of any kind to help support that decision, then the other family members just take it upon themselves and do what they can do, what they can afford.
And if there is, that comes right down to even having a burial plot. If I try to stress all the time about being proactive, and that's another area where if the kids know that mom and dad have adjoining burial plots in the local cemetery, then there's no discussion.
Mm-hmm.
They know that that's how it's to be.
That's
And
good.
that,
So
it's
let me
just,
ask you a question about the point professionals and what I have had a chance to be exposed to about the point professionals. A lot of people that come on. You guys have this early morning meeting to talk about business. So are these point professionals all interested in, not to say all interested, but all these individuals, are they relating to health and wellness programs and services that are provided throughout the state of Michigan? Or is it, by county? How is it actually put together?
well, it is the partnership is comprised of people who are all involved in one way, shape, or form in senior care. So that we don't have any, it's not like a typical networking group where you might have a truck driver, you might have a coach, you might have this, that, or the other thing. This is over 200 people all concerned with the well-being of adults, older adults, and assisting families in making the right decisions and getting the best care possible.
Okay.
And as to our little meetings, we do meet twice a month on Zoom, 8 o'clock in the morning, the first and third Thursdays of every month. And we do get a little bit of business done there. We also get some camaraderie there. We try to have it as a fun hour, just reconnecting with everybody and seeing if anybody has a need that can be solved.
Mm-hmm.
And I can say this proudly. We have had many requests for services, and we've never had to say we don't know. We've had somebody who could step up and take care of whatever the need might be.
That's great. That's great. Right. And I've had the opportunity to be online many a mornings. So I feel as though when I'm listening to the individuals talk about what the needs are, or a client need, or a job opening, or a new facility being developed and everything, those are informational tools and pieces that need to be shared with our viewers. So we thank you for giving insight on the point professionals. I really do. But as you're speaking about your daily job with the Eagle Financial Group, I realize that a lot of people do not think about utilizing a person like yourself until they become a certain age, and then they say, hey, I need to talk to somebody about putting my plans together because I'm starting to age. So, what is the most important thing I should keep in mind as I get older? What would you say?
Well, now I think you mentioned that you have long-term care insurance, but if you didn't, one of the most important things is to know that the older we get, the tougher it is to get the insurance.
Mm-hmm.
I checked with one of my carriers just to see how many health issues that they say no to. And there was 157 different things that you could have that could possibly or probably cause your application to be declined.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, there's over 350 different prescriptions you could be taking that could also cause that decline to happen. So it comes back to when you're healthy, when you're young, look into it. Buy a smaller policy and let it grow with you.
Mm-hmm.
The companies today that sell insurance have gotten over the problems of the past where people were getting increases in their policy premiums unexpectedly. They'd get a letter in the mail saying, oh, the price going up 60% effective in 30 days. Here's some options for you. That's not what they bought into.
Right.
So the policies that are sold today are priced properly so that if you buy one, you're not going to get a price increase.
Okay. Well, that's some good information to share with the viewers, and I would hope that people are definitely paying attention to this information today. So, Dan, I got about a minute left. Is there anything that you want to tell our viewers? Because I got to ask you, will you come back and join us again?
Well, I'd like to leave everybody with one thing. Don't put it off. You never know when later it might be too late.
Thank you, thank
So
you, thank you
if
so
you're
much.
good to go
So,
now,
hold.
don't dawdle.
Well, we will take heed to that, Dan. So hold for me 1 second. I'll be right back.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides at aarp.org/caregiving.
If you love them enough to suck the snot out of their nose at 4 a.m., then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Hey! Okay.
If you love me enough to tolerate my perfect little pets and all their glorious dander, then of course you'll visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure I'm in the right car seat.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hate to rush because I like the good stuff to come out to you. So definitely always know that you can see us on PBS Channel 56 every Wednesday morning at 5:30 a.m. or catch us on Comcast Detroit, Comcast Southfield, Wide Open West, YouTube, as well as our Facebook page, Facebook, Just Ask Podcast Live, or our website, justasktalkshow.org. I'm your host, Marsha Florence, for Just Ask, and before I lose my time, what do I always say? If you know a person with a disability or if you just have a general question, don't be afraid to ask. Just Ask. I'm your host, and I'll see you next time.